Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Some people are still joining. Welcome back for day 2 of Team Building Through Change. Our hope, what you accomplish through these sessions, again, really just to understand team development in the current context of what's going on and how priorities are now changing or have changed and continue to change. And really to empower you to thrive in this downturn. And what this is meant to do is to help you understand what we are able to do for you. We, being the consultants, who I have some on the line with me as well today, what these sessions can do for you and your company. Again, no charge for this. We just want to be able to help all of you out during this time. This can be combined, these 3, for a 90-minute workshop with your organization using your data. Okay, so some of the things that I'm going to go over are very generic today, but what we would do for you is then now put those analytics, your data, into this to help you understand what's going on, what the objectives are, and then how to move forward best. So we don't expect you to do all the heavy lifting. We'll do that for you and can deliver that content for you. I know there's a lot of information that we're going on over here. So relaunching your team today, part 2. Some things before we get started as usual. If you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat. We will have a Q&A session at the end here. I've put the PI link for some of you that are joining and have not taken the PI. You can use that with your respective team. That will come straight to us. And we can use those analytics to provide this context for you. And it's there. It's also, I put it in the chat when we started. Was wondering if anybody took time. I know it's only been 24 hours, but if you put any thought into some of the homework that we gave you yesterday, just identifying normal team dynamics that were representing strengths that we're leaning on in crisis, identifying the crisis team dynamics, and then if you came out with any tips. Lively bunch today. We'll keep going. So to remind you of why you're here, just team priorities have changed. What are the new team priorities? Do we know what they are? Do we have a better handle on them? And the team members may have changed. You know, people have been moved around, furloughs, layoffs. You know, the questions that we are getting here, there's an opportunity really even inside this session to understand how these business priorities of the company have changed the team objectives. Again, that's really one of the things we'll be focusing on today. What team members were lost due to any kind of reduction that may have been going on. Were employees from other parts of the organization maybe added to the team moved around. I think what's most important to all of us is what we're most concerned about as the team enters these next stages. You know, what does it bring? What are we going to do? Do we know what we're supposed to be doing? Things have definitely changed. In the next, all these 3 sessions, pivoting team priorities. Success is really going to be dependent on the team performance and the ability to move with less and navigate emotions. We went over that as well when we've done several webinars in the past few weeks just on, you know, strengths and emotions and trying to manage that. And then realigning and collaborating. We'll go over more of the collaboration part tomorrow with some of the tools inside of the PI software. So what's happened is the leadership has pivoted, or again will pivot, probably has pivoted already, the business priorities. this is going to cause a significant shift in the team objectives. So we're here to help you understand the people implications of those new objectives and really walk you through and help you act on them. So two the most critical parts of a team, their goals and their people have just undergone significant changes. This will mean the team is going to be directed in to different work priorities. The team's going to be forced, your teams are going to be forced to behave differently and do more with less. Or I heard yesterday, do less with less from a call after the webinar. So the team mindset morale is going to be, has been shaken, and that could really impact productivity. And then tomorrow we're going to focus on managing those remote teams and how that can increase organizational complexity and what to do with that to streamline it a little bit more. Today we're in the operations phase. The talents of the team and the team objectives have been well aligned prior to the crisis, hopefully, but given the significant changes that have been thrust upon everyone, the odds of talent misalignment are much more likely, and we hear a lot of calls for that. So hopefully what we go over today will help you. We're on phase 2, relaunching your team, really helping the team realign roles in reaction to new performance drivers and individual strengths. So we'll take a look at that. As we get into relaunching the team priorities and talents may have been well aligned, as I said, prior to that crisis. Okay. There are more risks that we need to consider beyond just overuse of strengths, though, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Now that the company's business strategy has significantly changed in response to the crisis, this is likely going to dramatically impact your team's objectives. So you need to ensure that you're optimizing the alignment of the talent that you have on your team to adapt to these new performance drivers. Yesterday, we talked about the two sides of the same coin. We'll continue with that today. Who's doing the work versus the work to be done. Yesterday, we focused really on the blue inside. I'm speaking of inside of the PI software. So the team doing the work, we focused on that, the behavior profiles yesterday. So as you recall that framework, it's like the Rosetta Stone for connecting the team doing the work. Hopefully this is making sense. And then the other side, as we look at that, the team behavioral emphasis, as we went over yesterday, all of this cultivating, exploring, stabilizing, and producing. I'm going to go over that again with you just so we make sure we're on the same page. That was one side of the coin. The other side of the coin that we're going to focus on today and also bring the behavioral piece in is the work to be done. Okay. This framework is really going to provide us with insights into the target talents that are required for the teams to successfully execute on those objectives. So today, when we look at it, we're really going to be focusing on in the software. I'm going to do another software demonstration with y'all. And what we're going to be focused on is those purple rings. I'm going to bring in the blue ones as well, but we're going to do a little exercise on what this would look like for you if you decided to do something like this inside your company with your teams. All right, so the objectives align with the teams. Let's just go over these four quadrants. The exploring objectives, so I'm going to go real high level here. Exploring objectives are going to focus on pursuing new opportunities, investigating innovations, being nimble and flexible, being broad rather than focused, and demonstrating a willingness to experiment. Success is defined then as the objective as products and services that are unique in the market. What I want you to think for that exploring piece is innovation. So think innovation. When we talk exploring, think innovation. Drop down to producing. Producing objectives focus on accumulating clients. So building a reputation in the field, being competitive, tactics and price, and improving quality and delivery to outmaneuver your competition. Success here as the objective is defined as high market penetration and market share. What I want you to think here in the producing piece is results. So we talked about with exploring, it's innovation. In here with producing, it's results. So if your objective is results. If we flip over to stabilizing objectives, stabilizing objectives will focus on improving efficiencies, enabling predictability in process and procedure, and setting entrepreneurial goals that are pursued aggressively but selectively. Here, success is defined by that high performance out of the existing offerings that we have to ensure customer loyalty. Here, I want you to think process. And then the last one, cultivating objectives are really going to focus on employee commitment, morale, people development. We're seeing a lot of this with the people that we have, people development and employee cohesion. Success is defined here as high engagement with a positive climate. And we're hearing a lot of that. But here in this particular cultivating objectives, I want you to think people. Okay? Think people. Let's jump into the software. Again, I know this is a lot of information. We're doing this webinar to help you understand how we can help you. If we can help you in these ways, we'd be happy to use your data to do this workshop with your team. Again, no charge, just to help you out. As we jump into the software, so I'm going to reshare a different screen here. Just so we're on the same page and understand what's going on. This is the PI software, but this is a demo site. I'm not using anybody's names or anything like that. What we would first do, so just to back up a little bit. So the predictive index of software scientifically validated an approach to translate these team objectives into types of talent required on your team to successfully execute your initiatives. What I'm going to show you is a simple checklist of 20 objectives that could be executed. Okay, I'm going to show them here on the screen. It could be executed by your team to support one or more of the company's business priorities. These objectives are general and broad by design, and I'll show you how we use that and how that would play out for any of you. This allows for use across different industries and teams. So that's why it's kept broad. We won't ask you to adopt these semantics to replace how you describe your own objectives. There's ways, and I'll show you how we do that a little bit later. So I need a volunteer. I think, Corey, are you going to volunteer here?
You got it. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks, Corey. Still people entering here. So what we would do, folks, as we're in the site, we're really going to go through and say, okay, well, what do our objectives need to be? All right. So I'm going to just kind of role play here with Corey. Corey's a CEO of a company. on a leadership team, and I'm going to say, okay, Corey, just walk me through, in general, what are you trying to accomplish right now? What do you think your objectives are? Well, you'll see this list over here: cultivating, exploring, and stabilizing, with some statements. Whoops. Here. So as I go down through these, Corey, what in this role play, what makes more sense to you for you and your team right now?
Yeah, I think right now, Eric, what's most important for me is focusing on the cultivating area.
Okay.
So
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, providing service and support to the people is very important.
Okay.
And also improving collaboration as we figure out how we're going to navigate moving forward.
Any other thing inside there that makes sense to you?
The empathic communications as well, serving others with empathy.
Okay. Now, as we go down to exploring, do you think any of these may be an objective moving forward for your company?
Sure. The last one there, the organization and its products are uniquely valuable.
Okay.
And number 4, they're developing systems that organize tools and resources for our teams.
Stabilizing. Okay.
Yep. And in producing, really want to make sure now more than ever that our evaluations lead to useful recommendations. Okay. Number 2 there.
All right. So you see what we put that in. Again, we want to take a little bit more time to do this. Corey and I are just role playing this to give you an example of what we could do. But once that's done, now we have what we look at is we're really up here in this quadrant here with the cultivating piece. So that seems to be our main objective right now. Right? So that's our objective. Now, as you remember from yesterday, we looked at the behavioral profiles of people in certain areas. Now, again, I'm going to just put in a demo. This is not anybody's site. I'm going to put the people that I have in that team into this mix. So, Corey, just continue to role play with me a little bit maybe here. And what we have, the information in front of us says we have a highly producing team, but we need to really shift that into cultivating. So the first question I would probably ask, as Corey and I are role playing here, is you've had a bunch of producers. We went through that yesterday. How many of them are overutilizing those strengths and it's amplified? Have you seen any of that?
Yeah, I've seen a number of that. Now that you mention it, it's probably behooves us to take a look at their PIs again and to see where we might be able to help them understand or leverage some of their other their strengths.
Okay. And we want to get up here. So we want to get up here. You said provide service and support to people outside the team, listen to and serve others with empathy, and guide others to improve collaboration. We're getting a little blue coming up here. And so what we would do here, so the type of team we have is competitive and intense. Really what we want is a team that's focused on positive, cooperative support of stakeholders, either internal or external. And common examples include customer service team, people operations, hospitality teams, and care providers. What we can do is look at the team that we have and see what the individual alignment looks like. So we have our objectives set. Now we just pressed another button here. Now we have everybody on the team. So now we can take a deeper look into who has on the team, who we can rely on, because as we talked yesterday, when we have that other team that's highly producing here, what happens is the loudest voice will get heard. And what we need is to come back to here and say, okay, who on the team can do these things? We still need a little bit of this in the producing, but let's tailor that back. And can we find, maybe we can find other people, right? But there are some other people that have similar traits and might be able to flex a little bit more than some of our other employees. So you have like Christina Cherry here, nothing really in the cultivating piece. Maybe we don't rely on her as much and bring some of these other team members in. They're a little bit more weighted in the cultivating to really show up on those teams and really work with those teams, and then be able to tell the producing folks, hey, look, this is just what's going on. This is how we have to act. And that gives you a little bit more of objectivity, especially looking at this to say, hey, look, yeah, we were here in this producing phase. We want to get to the cultivating, and then this is what this looks like. So let me jump back into my PowerPoint here. And thank you, Corey, for helping out. I really appreciate that. What we would be helping you with. So given that the team objectives in the checklist, again, those are, I said, they're by design, they're generic and therefore, kind of broadly applicable. So there's a need to make the objective more real and relevant to your team. All right. What we would do is work with you to provide you a way to state those objectives in your own words. All right, so we would workshop this. Again, we can do this virtually with your team so we can get everybody on alignment. Hope everybody understands it. So really be thinking about this. I know we had a couple calls to schedule the 90 minutes with particular companies yesterday, but be thinking about this. What would you say those objectives are in your own words? And then we would help you by relaunching that with your team. And here's just a example of really how we would do that. Now we have these blueprints for each of those objectives: stabilizing, cultivating, producing. Let's use stabilize as an example right now. So for stabilizing, you could say something like this. Team objectives that fall into the stabilizing category, we want to require behaviors that are thorough and in-depth, focus on operating efficiency and cost savings. We want to build predictability and stability for others inside and outside of the company, and then focus on a few well-defined objectives. We would help you utilize this relaunch blueprint table as the backdrop to discussion to help your team align their strengths with these new objectives that we're now communicating. So this can be done across these three lines. So I'll go through them right now. So what did we lose? What we would do here is we would start by covering kind of a post-mortem with the team on what kinds of talents the team lost due to team members leaving the company through reduction in force or just being moved around. Do any of these talents align well to the talents required for the team objectives according to the behaviors listed on this, like that slide we just went over? And how will the team fill this gap? Who will step up and fill the void? Again, using those analytics, we can do a side-by-side and say, who do we have on the team that fills the void? And if you're a client, you can even go into your system with that data and say, who are maybe we not thinking about that can fill that void? And that system our system will draw that out for you. Next, we would look at strengths and roles. Here's where you would refer back to what we did yesterday. So the individual behavioral emphasis data that we shared yesterday. what we would look at based on those individual behavioral data is who on the team might be able to offer their behavioral styles to take lead on this team objective, whatever it is. And the one we did with Corey, it was more cultivating. All right. It will also be important here to discuss the strengths of all team members. Again, even if they do not have a strong behavioral emphasis in that particular area. So we saw the producers. We don't want to just throw them all out because we need them. All right. So we want to talk about them and how we can still utilize them and identify specific examples of how they could apply their strengths to drive the team to success on that objective. And the last one there, flex and stretch. Here's where we help you identify members on the team that have a moderate emphasis for that quadrant. I gave you a little bit example. I said, that Christina Cherry in there really probably couldn't stretch that a lot, but there were other individuals inside of there. We want to identify them. These individuals should be able to flex and stretch their natural behavior towards the behaviors that are required for that effective execution of the objective. Again, what we used for that example in the software was the cultivating. Okay, we're going to go to questions just to keep in mind some things that are coming up here. Tomorrow we'll finish our series, Collaborating Through Change. I'm going to show you a lot of tools inside the software that we really think you should be utilizing to help that collaboration, especially as we have remote, different teams and things of that nature. Tuesday and Thursday, we're having our PI Jedi virtual training, 2-day training if you want to get certified. And then more on a personal note, May 16th, Growing in Times of Uncertainty. I'll bring back a lot of my background in therapy, neuroscience, and we'll talk about that just as we're getting a lot of calls in to just help, not just professionally, but personally as well. And we know that if set personally, professionally goes a lot better. Questions, comments? Question here, how can a leader teach or help flex producing team members to become cultivating? When you go back into that system, just to look at, one, to be clear about the objectives, right? Because for a producing team, if they're highly producing, they only know one thing, and that is to really produce. So put the brakes on, maybe have them another challenge, giving them the challenge of this is what we're going to do now. How can we help your clients? How can we help our clients through this time? We're not necessarily focused on more sales, but cultivating the relationships that we have and looking the bigger picture. Are there anything that we can do with our long-term clients to help them out through this situation instead of going out there and having that producing mentality, coming back and looking at, and that's where you want to get clear on when we looked at that relaunch blueprint, that's where you want to get clear on what it actually is that we want to do. So if it's, again, going back to our example of stabilizing that relaunch blueprint that we just showed, be more specific on, what that looks like, building predictability and stability for others. Might even be a challenge to that group to be able to do that. Thanks for that question. If you could just go in the chat, is this stuff making sense? Is this helpful? Okay, good comment here in the chat again. For PI clients that are on the line, really take a look at the PIs of your returning teams and how can you leverage them to be more effective? Another great point. Doesn't seem to have any other questions coming through. Again, I think it'll work here. I'm going to put that PI link there. You can use that for your teams if you have not taken the PI yet. I know some of you are on the line that are new. So please, copy that, paste it, take it, and then we'll either myself or somebody from our team will be in contact with you. Really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us. Hopefully we can be helpful. Doesn't necessarily have to be what we went over the past couple of days, but if there's anything we can help on, whether it's just, facilitating a discussion with a coworker or teammate, we'd be happy to help out. Contact us, contact your consultant. And we'll be seeing you all tomorrow. Hopefully stay tuned tomorrow. Again, we'll be back at noon tomorrow to go over the collaboration piece of this. So thanks again for joining. We will talk to you soon and hopefully see you tomorrow.